Everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, Craig DeLuz, just fresh off the rundown. Craig, how did today's show go, man?
Dude, went phenomenal. Once again, tons. There is more stuff to talk about than we have time to talk about it, but it always goes well, man. Anytime I get a chance to hang out with Mike P, is always good.
Yeah, incredible guy. I love talking to him on Thursdays, and I actually got to, a little over, about a month and a half ago, I got to join you guys once, and I really enjoyed the heck out of that. By the way, folks, if you're not watching them, you need to be there on an hour before I am. You need to go check out therundown.com is where they catch you, right?
Rundown.us. You can find us on
.us.
Facebook. You can find us on YouTube at 2A News. We're on OpsLens. We're on Spotify. You can listen to us on wherever you get your podcasts.
I catch you guys on Facebook, so that's where I get a notification that pops every time you guys are live, and that's where I catch it. So a lot of stuff for us to talk about. And by the way, Teresa Inacker was supposed to join us today. She's having connection issues. If she's able to get connected, I'll bring her in as soon as we get her. Two reasons I wanted to talk to her today. She is an attorney that is licensed to practice at the Supreme Court, and so she knows a lot about Supreme Court law, and she's a New Jersey girl, and so she knows a lot about what's going on inside of New Jersey. Again, if she's able to connect, as soon as I see her pop in, I'll get her connected in, and we'll talk with her. But Craig, man, we do have a lot of stuff to get to today. Very first thing, for podcast listeners, this is kind of a special one for me for the podcast. This is episode 100 of the podcast.
Wow.
We just turned this into a podcast right about the beginning of the year. And so this is episode number 100 of Monday through Friday and some Saturdays. So that's kind of just a milestone I wanted to mention. Craig, of course, Thursday of last week, we had the big decision on the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, struck down May issue all throughout the nation. And Thursday, about 8:30 my time in the morning, the decision came through, and by 9 o'clock, there was hemming and hue and cry from all of the states that were formerly May issues, saying we're going to have special legislative sessions, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And New York and others have really gone out of their way to make it as difficult as possible to get a carry permit and to make those carry permits as worthless as possible, man.
Well, what's interesting is that if you actually read the opinions, they've already made it clear that you're not going to be able to get away with doing that. And part of the issue is the state of New York already kind of pre-signaled by attempting to introduce legislation that, in essence, would have made every place a sensitive place. So no parks, nowhere within 1,000 feet of public gatherings with more than 15 people. I mean, it would have made it almost impossible to carry anywhere. Well, they made it very clear within the opinion that, that is going to be seen as an infringement and is not going to be tolerated by the Supreme Court. So when you have these states who are saying that they're going to do this, that are going to make every place a quote unquote sensitive place, that's not going to fly. The other thing that's not going to fly is, once again, making it cost prohibitive, making it such that it's going to be almost impossible for the average person to be able to get a concealed carry permit. For example, requiring training, like I could easily see the state of California requiring the same level of training that you have to get in order to become a law enforcement officer, which is, I believe, 16 hours of training or more. It's a lot. My point being, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I could very easily see them pushing it, requiring, for example, liability insurance, which general liability insurance is not that costly. But if they're going to require a special insurance to cover this, first of all, general liability insurance does not cover instances where you utilize your firearm in self-defense. Especially if you break the law, then you cannot be insured against breaking the law. There's no assurance that exists that will cover if you wind up shooting somebody in violation of the law. So I just, once again, they're going to do whatever they can to thwart the Second Amendment. And, I really do believe that there ought to be sanctions against politicians who go out of their way to violate the Constitution, because that's exactly what they're going to be doing.
That is exactly what they're going to be doing. I want to get several comments, because I knew this is, ever since the Bruin decision came down, we've been getting just floods of comments coming in. I want to try to keep up as much as I can with comments today, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Let me get Pete up first. Glad to see and hear that morning coffee is back.
Yes, so we've started off running morning coffee with Craig twice a week. I'm planning on taking anyway. When I return from, I'm going to take a brief sabbatical, but when I return, then we're going to hopefully get it up. By the way, if you guys are watching it and you guys are enjoying it, make sure you let them know you want it 5 days a week.
There you go.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yes. Donald over on the Facebook side said, notice the Kirkland Law Firm that employed the two litigators, Miss Murphy and Mr. Clements, decided to fire them after they won the New York Pistol Association lawsuit at the Supreme Court. What gives? Second Amendment views apparently isn't politically, and let me see if I can get more, isn't politically correct. Yeah. They just didn't want how do I put this? All law firms give out pro bono work. They just wanted to give out their pro bono work on the other side. By the way, the Kirkland Law Firm by income is the largest law firm in the United States. So, yeah. And rather than giving up their pro Second Amendment work, those two just said, yeah, we'll see you.
Well, I am quite sure that after this victory, they're not going to have a hard time getting work at a law firm that will respect the work that they've done on this issue.
Yeah, no kidding. Last I checked, Alan Gura had no problems getting jobs or clients.
Nope. No problem.
And Lee says, we're not going to have any problems running out of material anytime soon. We're going to have plenty of material to be talking about.
Oh, no. There's going to be a lot because, once again, there is the decision itself, and then there's the response to the decision, and then there's going to be response to the response.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be, okay, well, how exactly does this play out? Because if it plays out the way they say, it's going to be a shootout. And when we did the rundown the day the decision came out, I had on my cowboy hat because I was like, it's about to be the Wild Wild West up in here if you listen to anti-gunners.
Yeah, and just now I see her. Teresa, keep your phone sideways. I just see her. I just see her connecting in. So, as I said, we were having an issue with getting her connected. It looked like she's connected now. I'm going to go ahead and bring that in.
Yes.
There we go. Teresa.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. I'm glad to see you were able to connect. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so sorry. I always have problems. I think it's my MacBook. So.
Yeah, I have said before, I will say it again. I think this may be the first time I've said it on the show. I honestly believe Steve Jobs was the Antichrist. So it's an Apple thing. Anyway.
Well, I'm on a MacBook Pro, and I'm an Appleaholic. I'm sorry. You can say I'm in bed with China. I don't care. It works.
Even if you're on the wrong side of history, Craig, we can still be friends. I'm telling you, man.
There you go. There you go.
Couple more comments, and then I want to talk to Teresa about what's going on in New Jersey and specifically about what happened with her recently. But George says, where am I at? I got to find the right button now that I got. There we go. I'm sure criminals won't be carrying in sensitive places, George says. And Teresa,
Well,
you do that all the time on social media. You'll promote, X, Y, and Z criminal got arrested here. If they are carrying, why can't I?
Yes, that's what I always say. If John so-and-so can carry at the supermarket, why can't I? And it's a legitimate question. I'm actually trying to reach my more liberal friends, my anti-gun friends, which I actually have a few of them. I'm trying to get them to think, sort of using the Socratic method to try to get them to think about it. So if John is carrying at the supermarket, why can't I? And people who know me would know they should feel safe with me doing that, right? So I'm just trying to use the Socratic method to kind of like crack through the veneer there and try to get them to think about it. Why can't I? If they are anyway, and they are. So that's why I do that. I'm trying to get through to them a little bit in a subtle way.
well, and not just that. The fact that you've gone through background checks, so they know that you're not a criminal. In many states, you've gone through training. You've gone through testing. I mean, you've demonstrated that not only are you not a criminal, are you of good character, but you're also competent with your firearm. Why wouldn't they want that? As opposed to just anybody, when I say just anybody, any criminal who, by the way, was going to carry anyway. Mm-hmm. And that was actually pointed out as a part of one of the opinions. I thought that Kavanaugh did a phenomenal job of pointing that out. It was going to happen anyway. For example, the current gun laws, the law in which they were defending, or that was up for grabs, by the way, didn't do anything to stop what happened in Buffalo, New York.
And the proposed law would have done nothing to stop what happened in Buffalo, New York. Teresa, I want to, if I could, John Petrolino wrote up an article about you about a week and a half ago. You were testifying at the legislature there in New Jersey, and strangest thing happened. You got up to testify, and all of a sudden, the microphone didn't work as soon as you started to speak. As soon as you were done, magically, the microphone worked.
Right. So it's a little slightly different. The microphone actually worked. And I know for a fact that my testimony was broadcast live on the website because someone was listening in Sussex County, New Jersey, and texted me right afterward and said, hey, great job. So I know they were listening live. They carried the testimony live. So it was broadcast. I used the microphone. Everything seemed fine. But funny enough, I went back to read my testimony, and as soon as I introduce myself, it cuts off. And then for a good 3 minutes or so, there's nothing but silence. John Petrolino listened to the entire 3 hours of testimony, which was nauseating, of course. And he said that no one else was cut off. So as soon as I got a question from the chair of the Judiciary Committee, I answered questions for them. But as soon as the chair asked me a question, boom, as soon as his voice came on to ask me a question, the recording happened to come back. And then my answers to the question were there. But my testimony, my solo testimony before I got questioned had all just disappeared and been scrubbed from the record. So John, being the diligent journalist that he is, he wrote into them and asked what the heck happened here. And he got a letter back. Well, it could be a technical problem, which happens from time to time. And they actually tried to say that somehow perhaps me as the witness did something to the microphone to stop the recording, which is just preposterous. I mean, the witnesses don't control the audio equipment that records an official state record. I mean, this is a joke. There's a guy doing all that technical stuff on the side of the room. So very interesting. The story's not done yet because I still have to do an open Public Records Act request. I'm going to ask for a CD. I'm going to ask for a transcript and see if it's there. And I have a meeting with my local representatives in about 2 weeks. And, I talk to them generally about Second Amendment issues in New Jersey, but I'm going to ask them for a little bit of help and how to navigate this. So I guess you're left to conclude for yourself, was it an accident by them that the only female who testified in favor of the Second Amendment was scrubbed off of the record that day.
Wow. I'm not. I don't. As you notice, this is not tin foil. I don't very often wear them. However, it's a little bit too coincidental for my taste.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel like they're trying to silence me. I don't like that at all. And, part of our legacy is that people will look back and they ask, as we have in New Jersey, how did we get in this position? Who let this happen, right? We haven't had carry. We have all these crazy laws here. And we've all gone back to look and say, what happened in the record? How did we get in this terrible place? Someone's going to look back in 50 or 100 years from now and ask, what did you do to save the Second Amendment? What did you do to help us preserve our rights? Because they're not just ours, they're for future generations. And I'll be scrubbed from that record, So, and it disturbs me a lot. It makes me, want to look over my shoulder a little bit, because it's like, okay, they're really trying to silence me, or, do they want me to disappear? I mean, I really don't know at this point. But I think my testimony was actually effective in that case, because they did, table the bill that I testified about. And even, people who are anti-gun actually said they had some concerns about the bill. So I think my testimony was effective. But yeah, they've tried to erase me. So if I disappear, you guys know who to look out for, okay?
And for the record, you do not have any dirt on the Clintons, do you?
No, I do not. I do not, and I tend to stay out of the fray on that stuff. But I will not have the state altering an official state record to erase me because they don't like what I had to say. I mean, let's hope that's not what that was. I have no proof that that's what they did, but I am still digging a little bit, and I'm going to try to get some help.
All right. I want to, we got comments we got to get caught up on here, and when we got a couple other stories I want to get to here real quick. Michael says, meanwhile, and I hadn't heard this one yet, Cuomo prevented USCCA from doing business in New York. I hadn't seen that one yet.
Yeah, that was actually a while ago, simply because the point being is they were saying that they didn't act, because they were quote unquote membership and not actually insurance, but they deemed them to be an insurance company. They wouldn't allow them to do business without an insurance license.
Yeah. And then that's Washington State did that. And I've been covering a story with Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, and USCCA had issues, as did ACLDN in Washington State. My understanding is USCCA went ahead and got an insurance license in Washington State. So, I'm going to guess that as bad as Washington State probably is on some things when it comes to business, they're probably not nearly as bad as the state of New York, in particular New York City. So, you never know. There's probably a lot more hoops to jump through there in New York. Yeah. George brings up a great point. Worth remembering, CCL holders are the most law-abiding demographic, more so than cops, and way so much more than politicians. And that comes from Dr. John Lott, and very much, and continues to be proven time and again that the most law-abiding group of people around are concealed carry permit holders.
So with FPC, we actually have a program called #Wearing Orange, and we really kind of do it in promotion, in kind of in opposition of June 2nd, which is quote unquote Wearing Orange Day, promoting gun control. And it's basically every time a politician is either arrested or charged or goes to jail or of some sort of crime. And there was no shortage of politicians who were part of, I don't know if you remember, Mayors Against Illegal Guns.
I used to call it Illegal Mayors Against Guns, yeah.
Yeah, it turned out to be it was Illegal Mayors Against Guns, because they kept getting charged with embezzlement, with drug violations, with firearms violations. One in the state of California was the state senator was putting together arms deals.
Yes.
By the way, the arms are being shipped there to New Jersey.
I'm trying to remember it was a state. Wasn't he the president of the Senate?
He was one of the leaders. He was one of the leaders of the Senate. I don't believe he was the president of the Senate at the time, but Leland Yee was one of the leaders in the Senate, the leader of one of the leaders of gun control in the state of California. And once again, turns out that in order to raise funds for his campaign, he was connecting, people to help import illegal firearms into the United States.
We're talking full autos and grenade launchers with grenades.
Yep.
Yes. Can you say hypocrisy, boys and girls?
Look, he really was trying to, he wasn't putting firearms in California. He was just having them shipped into New Jersey. So.
Great.
Yeah. Did you get any of those, Teresa? Did you get any of those?
No, no. But of course, the law-abiding will be punished and pay the price for that.
Yes.
We always have a joke that you should have to pass a background check to run for office. That would eliminate half of these criminals in the Capitol.
I do want to. We burned up a lot of time. I want to get to a few more stories, and we've got comments still coming in. I'm not going to be able to keep up, but want to get in a story here. California drops good cause requirement. So I'm guessing, Craig, now that even if you do live in Sacramento County, if you live in, God help us, if you live in San Francisco County, you should be able to go to your sheriff's department and get a concealed carry permit now. Although I did a story on Saturday where the San Francisco County Sheriff has not issued a single permit since January of 2020 when he took office. And that includes celebrities, that includes everybody.
There are less than 10 concealed carry permits in all of San Francisco County. So one has to question, in some of these counties, and by the way, now that's in comparison to, say, Sacramento County, where we have over 10,000. We have a sheriff who, when he started 12 years ago, there were only 250, and now there's over 10,000. So what you're going to find is, number one, they're no longer going to be able to have a good cause requirement. They still can make the process very difficult, very onerous. They can put a number of different requirements on it. And so there's going to be a process here. And the other thing they're going to do is they're probably not going to allot the appropriate amount of staff that's going to be necessary. You figure, for example, like in Los Angeles County, in the largest county, the most populous county, I think the second most populous county in the entire country, there's less than 200 concealed carry permits, and all but, say, a dozen of those go largely to someone linked to law enforcement or to the courts or to the judicial system. So it's going to be a very, very onerous and long, drawn-out process for people to be able to get concealed carry. And they're going to drag their feet while the legislature then pushes through legislation that will basically increase the cost, make it once again very, very difficult for individuals to be able to get permits in the state of California.
Teresa, I'm guessing it's going to be kind of the same story there in New Jersey, right?
Yes. So the Attorney General has recognized that we no longer need to meet the justifiable need standard, which is similar to, say, good cause, Right. Thankfully, that is gone because that was an impossible standard to meet. And it was also very subjective. It depended on who was reviewing it. We had people that had been kidnapped several times for mistaken identity, and that wasn't even enough. So at least they just struck that, directly out of the requirement. But all the other requirements remain. So we're talking fees. Now they're talking about fingerprinting again. They're talking about, different qualifications. And a lot of the instructors are trying to figure out what exactly are those qualifications? What will they accept? So right now the process is really in flux. We're waiting for some more direction. The instructors are starting to figure out what's required. But yes, you have to apply in person. You need to provide all sorts of identification. They're starting also locally, start adding, little extra requirements here and there, which they're really not allowed to do. We had that problem with the firearms purchase ID card process. Local police departments would add on these additional things, letters from your employer saying that they know you're going to be purchasing a long arm and all these other things. It's really crazy. So God only knows what they're going to cook up. We currently have the full assembly, I believe tomorrow is voting in New Jersey on a long list of additional bills. And so it's not stopping them. They're going to keep pushing forward.
And they keep pushing this same one, and I find it totally ridiculous, but it's getting voted on again tomorrow, a ban on 50 BMG. I want to know when the last time somebody used a Barrett to take down a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny. I remember when they banned private ownership of 50 caliber rifles in California. I remember asking both the author and the committee chair to tell me, other than illegal possession of a firearm, what was the last crime committed, or what crimes have been committed with a 50 caliber rifle in these United States? And do you know what the answer is? None.
Yep.
Absolutely none. No one's ever committed a crime other than, illegal possession of a firearm.
Yeah.
Right. The 50 cals up there, they want to renew the firearms purchase ID card every 4 years. They can't even keep up and do them on time as it is. I mean, let alone have everyone get through that process and renew it. They want people moving into the state of New Jersey to get these firearm ID cards and also register what they're bringing in. Okay. So they're trying to tighten up everything. They want to know. They want to register everything. They want to know everything. So you have to ask yourself why they want to do that. I know why they want to do that. But again, people need to start thinking about what these measures really mean.
Get a comment in here quick. Talking about Senator Lee. Michael Columbus says, in bed with Chinese spies is just as bad, unless you're a Democrat. He also said, that's why I opted for 4 non-resident CCW permits, reciprocity. Yeah, and I guess to both of you, I'm with Bruin now being settled. I'm hoping, I expect the next thing to go in front of the Supreme Court is going to be magazine restrictions, and very soon after that, if not just maybe before that, 18 to 21-year-olds. I expect those to get to the Supreme Court very quickly. After that, I'm guessing in the next several years, we're going to get a case up there somehow that deals with reciprocity. At least I'm very much hoping we do. And once again, when that one comes, I want it to go to a Thomas written opinion.
Well, I think what we're seeing now is so now we know that the right to possess a firearm for self-defense, that right now extends beyond your front door. The question is, how far outside of your front door? Does it extend to the county line? Does it extend to the state line? Right now, what we know is the farthest it extends is to the state line. I think you're going to start to see, if I were like states like California, I would start looking at trying to find a way to have a national concealed carry reciprocity. And I would do it by setting a standard that is so high and saying, well, yeah, you can get a permit in our state if you meet this standard. It wouldn't surprise me if they started to do that, because in the end, I think they lose a lawsuit if they start prohibiting people from out of state, because we do have a right to interstate travel, but you don't lose your other fundamental rights when you travel to another state.
Amazing point. Yeah, I don't lose my freedom of speech or protection from illegal search and seizure when I go to California.
You don't lose your right to vote. You get an absentee ballot.
Yep.
Whether you're alive or not. Although you might vote Democrat if you're not alive.
Wow. Yeah. One
the
last
Foundation is a nonpartisan organization.
As is
but
SAF.
I'm not.
SAF is as well. Let me.
Yeah.
We're out of time, but I got to get this last story in because I got notice of this just before we went to air. California put up a let me bring the story back up so I want to get the right terminology here. A data portal yesterday. California put up a data portal with regard to concealed carry permit holders in the state. Only problem is it gave out all the data for all the concealed carry permit holders in the state. Again, no tinfoil here. This is a regular baseball cap. Actually, it's a very special one for me, but I don't believe in tinfoil stuff. This is just real coincidental that Bruin comes through, and then this portal from the state of California comes through, and oops, they give out home addresses for all concealed carry permit holders.
That's concerning, Paul, because if you have someone who wants to red flag you, right? I don't know. I don't like that neighbor down the street, but I don't know exactly. Oh, they have firearms over there. I think I'm going to red flag them, right? We have this problem in New Jersey with this already being done by people, with neighbors who are having disputes, and patients and doctors who are having disputes, and all sorts of things. So it really leaves you more vulnerable for a host of reasons. Plus, somebody might say, oh, you have firearms in your house, so when you're not home, I'm going to try to break in and steal them. There could be a lot of issues there. But again, just like the missing testimony, I'm sure, this is quite a coincidence, isn't it? And it does leave you vulnerable, though, particularly to red flag, in my opinion. So it's a problem.
Well, and the other thing is, so it didn't just release information on concealed carry permit holders. It dealt with, they released, the database had dealer record of sales, it had gun violence restraining orders, it had firearm safety certificates, assault weapons registrations, and roster of certified handguns. So think about, and by the way, concealed carry permits. So let's say you did want to red flag somebody. If I got access to this information, I could say, well, you know what? He had his Smith & Wesson M&P and was pointing it at me. Even if I've never taken it out of the house, they're able to tell the judge what firearm I had because they got the information online, right? They could say, well, he said, well, I have a right to conceal carry. I have a right. And why? Well, how did I know he was carrying? Because I had access to his information. It gives people access to information that they should not have. And to be frank with you, I put nothing beyond California Democrats. I just don't. In particular, the anti-gun folks. It would not surprise me one bit if there was someone in this department who made sure that this database was vulnerable and made sure that there was someone ready to take advantage of that vulnerability as soon as it happened, because it's not vulnerable anymore. You don't have access to that information anymore. But I'm guessing somebody was ready and waiting for it to happen. And like you said, I'm not a tinfoil hat wearer, but they're slimy, and I've seen what they do, and I give them no benefit of the doubt.
It was available for about 24 hours. And we got to get out of here, but a couple comments here real quick. Pete over at Gun Websites, bump stocks, pistol braces, definition of receivers all need to hit the big court, in my opinion. Knock all those bans down, and the NFA along with them. Teresa, I'm going to ask this to you because you are licensed to practice at the Supreme Court. You're not a historian, I don't believe, but I don't believe the NFA has ever been challenged up to the Supreme Court, has it, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, but I think that Bruin, the legacy of Bruin is so brilliant, and you may have spoken about this before I was able to connect, but really, I find it's going to be a viable challenge, actually, as text informed by history. So I think everything is on the table for a challenge, and it may actually, there may be relief at a much lower court level. You don't even have to go all the way to SCOTUS for some of these things. I think we're going to maybe hit the, at circuit level or even district court level. If they properly apply Bruin, it should knock these things down. Now, those very courts have ignored Heller, as Thomas so perfectly stated that they were ignoring Heller. So they may ignore Bruin as well, and then we'll have to keep pushing it up. But I say anything is possible. I think everything's on the table now.
And
no more intermediate scrutiny, no more rational basis. It's you have to prove the burden of proof is now on the state that if they're going to infringe, that there's no other way to do it. It's a compelling state interest, and it doesn't violate our rights. So no, it's a phenomenal. That was almost more important than the right to carry. It sets a new standard for how our cases need to be judged. They'd no longer be treated as a redheaded stepchild.
Yep. John Petrolino says publishing who the gun owners are is also a shopping list for criminals. That's a great point. Yeah, if I want to get a rifle, if I want to get a handgun, I just need to go down this list. Oh, there's one there. There's one there. Just wait till they're not home.
Well, I will tell you, there's always someone at the DeLuz residence, so I'll just say shop at your own risk.
All right. We've gone way over time, so on the way out, Teresa, thank you for joining me. Is there anything you'd like to plug? DC Project or anything you're involved in? What do you want to promote on our way out?
Well, I would say just continue to watch CNJFO and other New Jersey, groups as we start to navigate this very new landscape for us. So we are being attacked as we speak, with more additional bills. So we could always use your support. You don't have to be a New Jersey resident to support us. So you can follow us on Facebook. You can go to the website. You can join us and support us. That really helps. And we'll still need to battle on the state level. And of course, dcproject.info. We're always looking for more people to help us out. I know they recently had, a 3-gun shoot and all of that sort of thing. So there's always something new popping up for them as well. dcproject.info.
All right. Craig, Morning Coffee with Craig, the rundown. What do you want to promote on our way out the door, man?
Well, first let's just say firearmspolicy.org. That's where you find all the work that we're doing over at FPC. You also find a link to the YouTube channel and the Facebook page where you can watch Morning Coffee with Craig. And then obviously the rundown, 2A News and Conservative Views. Check us out Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. You can find us pretty much anywhere on any of the Weber nets.
All righty. And on my part, I'm going to say thank you for watching. Please join us again, 5 p.m. Central Time, the rest of the week. I guarantee you we're going to be talking more Bruin, and we'll be talking any other stories that come up that affect our Second Amendment rights. There's one story I've been trying to get to for 2 days, haven't been able to get to, but I think it may happen tomorrow. Believe it or not, there are some in Nigeria that are getting a right to keep and bear arms. Check in tomorrow for that story. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.